And we are live with episode 164 of the Start, Build, Grow Show. Randy Brothers, my friend, we are back in action. We missed you last week. It just was not the same. We had Mike Claudio on the show. We talked about his book and everything he's got going on, but we have another great guest today. So, Randy, what's up?
What is up, man? Thank you as usual for holding it down. I mean, life gets crazy in the world of entrepreneurship, so there's things come up sometimes, and my man Nick holding it down. I appreciate you, Mike,
Amen.
for if you're listening to this. Appreciate you coming on the show. I did read the book, and it was awesome, man. It was a great book, like inspirational. Learned a lot from it, and got all motivated, right? So that's the idea. You got to win fast and win often. So it was awesome to have him on. And then again, we just keep kind of stacking the lineup here, and the best of the best, some of the most influential people, some of the sharpest minds. And in this particular case, one of my closest friends in the industry, kindred spirit, Mr. Danny Kerr with the Breakthrough Academy. Man, I can't tell you, this guy has been an inspiration, a friend, confidant, and we've had many of great times, long nights where we could just talk about the most random crap for hours and hours and hours. And in our world, right, this is a show by entrepreneurs, for entrepreneurs. As many of you know, entrepreneurship can be a lonely place. It can be a lonely journey. And when you do find those people that are just like-minded and kindred spirits, you got to, surround yourself there and bring them closer and do whatever you can to maximize the time you have with them. So I'm grateful for your time here, my man. Thanks for joining us again for, I don't know what, third time, fourth time, something like that.
Something, man. It's good to see you. Yeah, we all get busy and we don't talk as much as we used to because I'm not traveling. So I'm happy
Right?
to be on this
You
show.
traveled a little bit though, didn't you? Didn't you have a little
I
bit of
did.
an American road trip for a
I had a
second? I was following you on
3-week.
social, and it looks like
Yeah.
you're hitting some spots. They finally let you back in, hey?
I had a 3-week road show. I got COVID along the way and had to
No.
partially quarantine, and it got crazy trying to get back. It started out great, and near the end it was just a gong show. So I'm actually currently in quarantine at home.
You're
So,
quarantined right now. How
yeah.
you feeling? You feeling good?
Yeah, I'm obviously young and healthy, and obviously everyone says it affects everybody differently, but I was like, that was it. Like, that's what we've been freaking out about for a year and a half. And like, I get affects different people differently. Was barely anything for me. So I was just like,
Well, that's
thank God I
good,
got
man.
it. Got some antibodies now, I guess. And
Mhm.
definitely freaked myself out a little bit though. So yeah.
So where do you all? Hey, did you went to IRE then, or where do you all go?
Yeah, we went to IRE Vegas. I was in New York for a concert actually, and then where did we go for that? We went to Atlanta. Then I went to Colorado. Man, there's like a few other places I'm missing in my mind, but we went around. We got around a little bit.
Most importantly, who did you see
Yeah.
in concert in New York?
A band called Elderbrook. Have you guys ever heard of Elderbrook?
I have not. Was it
No.
good?
It's great. Yeah, it's EDM music, so you have to kind of be into that genre, which it's an acquired taste, I think, for some people. But man, it was awesome. It was cool. Lewis the Child, if you know that guy, and then Elderbrook and a bunch of other people that I didn't know, but it was really neat. So.
Nice, man. Well, good. Glad that they let you back in America. You had a great time, and that you're doing healthy after getting COVID while in America. But So, for those who don't know, Danny's with Breakthrough Academy. You've been doing some unbelievable things. You're working with hundreds of contractors throughout, Canada and America and everything like that. Where did the whole idea of Breakthrough Academy kind of get started, and how did that kind of get going?
Yeah. So since I was 18, actually, I both owned and ran a franchise, and then I actually ended up working for corporate in this franchise system called College Pro Painters. So it's basically a system for university students to learn how to run a small painting company, and they're basically thrust into the environment of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And it's a for-profit business. It works with universities obviously a little bit to help bring in young people to do this stuff. But at 18, I started my first franchise with them, and until I was about 26, 27, and basically worked for corporate for them for a little while as well. And just learned about what it takes to run a contracting business, but from like the business standpoint, right? So like if you looked at me back then, like I'm when my friends always ask, "Oh, can you come paint my house?" I'm like, "You don't want me to paint your house. Like, I'm a terrible painter." But I had, 150 franchises and 1,000 painters underneath, me and another guy named James Dale running Western Canada at one point. And you learn a lot, right? You learn a lot about leadership and how to create layers and how to create, basically a business process or a structure that's replicatable, and how to onboard people into that process to expand your kingdoms or your whatever your business, right? So for me, sitting in my last couple of years at College Pro, I was like, I saw the benefits of franchising. I could see, like, when you're onboarding somebody new, how to ramp them up quickly, how to get them value, how to help them make money pretty quickly, how to create like a predictable revenue source out of new recruits, right? And bringing people in. But I also saw the long-term, almost like downfalls of franchising, where people can't expand their turf because maybe you sold all their turf around them. People are building their brand, but it's not even their brand, it's your brand. People are paying royalties, which might actually impede as they grow in their ability to hire middle management. And so what was a great relationship at the beginning often isn't, and this is different for different franchises, but often isn't the greatest thing 5 years into a relationship with a franchisee, because you're starting to realize, like, we're holding you back at this point. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if there was a way to build an organization where we did all the things we do with our franchisees? We do coaching calls, we have like cool getaways, we have all your systems and strategic management of how to run the company pre-templated out and done, but without the franchise. You just pay monthly for a subscription, you get into it and you like it, cool, you stay. You don't like it, you get out. And you're around as long as it suits you. And with the online world coming online, and just seeing everything kind of happening between like just online education packages and coaches, and I thought there's definitely a space to do this right. Because if I'm honest, most of the stuff online that's offered for coaching and development and training, a lot of it's crap. A lot of it's just a person in their basement that made something quick and then they thought they could sell whatever. And it's crap. And I was like, I could bring real, tangible, hard, like, it's like really robust systems to the contracting space, which I know is lacking it, and do it in a way that would blow anybody currently in the space away. And that's what we did.
Yeah, you guys are doing some unbelievable things, Randy. I mean, right? Breakthrough
Yeah,
Academy
man.
is the real deal.
It's kind of funny, like the story of how Danny kind of roped me in.
Didn't he laugh
Same
you
way,
in?
same
I
way
did.
you did. Like
I
I
did.
to this day, guilty as charged. I'm not even on like social media that much. But when I was trying to get some things going in life and growing my business, right? And I jumped onto some message on LinkedIn on, hey, do you ever think about, do you run your business like a franchise, or you thought about like implementing franchise systems into your roofing business? I'm like, maybe, I don't know. That could be interesting. Let's see what's up. And then next thing you know, this little young dude, Danny Kerr, gets on the phone and is like trying to sell me something. And I'm like, all right, well let's talk, right? And then
Randy, that's one of
next
the
thing
reasons,
you know,
though.
man, I mean, we worked with you guys for quite a bit, and,
We did.
and learned a ton and implemented a ton, and we were, it was an incredible experience, and really kind of shaped myself, my company. Like, it shaped who we are as people and as entrepreneurs and as a business. All because you had some crazy idea to message some random dude online, and here we are. That's just kind of how things work.
Totally, man. And it's been cool watching you too. Like, I mean, you definitely took what we did and drove it home. Like, you didn't just take the class and la di da. Like, you implemented almost everything, and you went really far with it. And you were definitely a star, kind of like example for what can be done. So it was really cool. Like, I think it was really cool not only to do that with you, but also just to meet you and get to know you. And some people know us a little bit, but like, we are very much kindred spirits. And I've had many a
Well,
late night with you.
if
And
you do know us, you'll know that I can't. Neither can Danny. I can't sit here and I
Oh,
appreciate
you
that.
two? You
You're
guys
like
can't sit still?
you're like
I had no
Danny.
idea.
Well,
I'm
he
not
was
even
like,
sitting. I'm standing because I can't
exactly.
sit.
Appreciate it, dude. So no, he was like, you took it and took it home, right? Here's the deal. Like, I'm blessed to surround myself just like Danny. Like, we know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, and we surround ourselves with implementers and people that are just like, can take that idea and take that mission and take that navigation direction, and they're the ones that bring it home. So I can't even take the credit, man. My team and the people that we've surrounded ourselves with. You've met many of them. They now, to this day, they're helping coach and doing things, running a business, growing businesses, and it's incredible that it all kind of started, 5 or so years ago now with you guys, and it's been pretty cool. But I can't take the credit, man. It's surround yourself with great people that have the same values that can really help accentuate your strengths.
Totally, man. Yeah, I was like, I got a good idea, and I can sell it. Can anyone help me with this? Right? And
You can actually
and that
do it.
so yeah. So I mean, obviously, you know my business partner Igor Trininek super well, who's the most incredible implementer I've ever met in my life. James Dale, who's one of the best leaders. He was actually my boss for a lot of years at College Pro, and then we've got I think we have about 31 staff now, people on the team.
Wow.
Which, if you look at the team, like I'm, my cards, my stats on my baseball cards are not that good anymore compared to the team. Like they are leaps and bounds ahead of me, and I'm just happy to be around them. To be honest, it's really neat to watch.
Danny,
What's happening.
did you know pretty recently or pretty early on in your career that you were the visionary and you were able to think of great ideas, but you needed that team and those implementers, or did it take you a little while to realize that?
It took me a while, if I'm honest. Like I was in a franchise system since I was 18, so I was used to just following a system. Like I'm a
Yep.
grinder and I'll do things, but I used to coin myself what I would call an entrepreneur, right? Somebody who works really well within somebody else's system, but can just drive their own results within it. And so for the longest time, I was like, that's me. And I never really gave myself a ton of credit about being a creative or a visionary because I just didn't use that much that part of my brain until this one idea really just it took me over. And I was like, this has to happen. And year by year, as we got more and more into building this thing out, I started to realize like this vision I have in my head isn't just a bunch of crazy ideas. Like they actually work. They just
Yep.
needed an Igor to help implement them, if I'm honest, right? And bring them to reality. And then, I think what's neat about the entrepreneur brain is it has a unique ability to take a lot of random chaos and build and see patterns in it. And when you start to see those patterns, you start to see a path and a clarity on like what the direction actually is moving forward. And where most people need to look at facts and just analyze spreadsheets and look at like what's the most optimal solution, we feel it. Like we physically feel the path. And that's a gift that I didn't work for, right? It just was, it was a part of me. And to be honest, I didn't even know it was in me until I started to exercise it properly.
Yeah, I mean, look what you guys have done. I know you at one point you guys were one of the fastest growing companies in Canada. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So think about what you were able to do with that vision. Didn't you have some issues too with like reading or something like that, and you ended up somehow getting like an unbelievable GPA still, dyslexic or something like that, right?
I still can't read, but yeah, I am, diagnosed dyslexic, and actually the last part of my grade 12 year, I got diagnosed as a dyslexic and was given extra time in my exams and ability to use spell check and all these things, which really helped me. Because with that, I was able to basically get, a 4.0 GPA graduating, like one of the top grades you can get. And it was mostly because my weaknesses weren't scored against me, which they had been for so long. And finally, I mean, I was a hardworking, smart kid, but like my spelling was atrocious. My ability to read was gone. Like the last book I read, and it took me almost a year to do it, was Harry Potter. That first book that came out.
That's a big one though. So congrats on that. It's a good one to take down. That's a good one to take down.
It was years ago. And people always ask me like, what do you read? Like, you're in business, you must read these. I'm like, I don't. If I'm honest, I listen to audiobooks. I watch a lot of different like videos and movies on things that help educate me in documentaries. I can't read. I can read sentences and email but I have to get through life in a different way. And it's interesting too, like when I talk, not all entrepreneurs, but when I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of them are dyslexic or ADD. And what's kind of happened to a lot of us is we had to find alternate ways to get through society because the standard way wasn't working. And it forced us to think differently. And we found this thing called run your own business, right? Be an entrepreneur. And it opened up a lot of doors for me included and a lot of people I work with to this day. And Randy, you're no different, right?
Don't sugarcoat it. It's called being unemployable.
Yeah, I did get fired from a few jobs.
Yeah, I feel that.
So when you're unemployable with ADD, you just got to figure it out, right?
Got to make money somehow. I mean, geez, like these people won't pay me, so I got to go do my own thing.
That's always been my challenge. Is like I can read, but the problem is I can't comprehend.
Yeah.
So I'll have to read something like over.
That's exactly
and
what it
over
is.
Before it's like
that's exactly what it is.
That's what it is. And it's interesting because going through the 75 hard, you're forced to read. But like what I found with that is the small chunks helped. So if I'm not sitting there trying to just read like a long, just 10 pages.
Right.
Very intentional, 10 pages with a highlighter and a notebook to try to like intentionally read stuff. And if I read something and I read it over, I'd highlight it. And that actually was probably the most influential reading that I've ever done in my entire life.
Right. Yeah. What you just described is exactly what goes on in the dyslexic brain. It can read the words on the page, but it's putting so much work into figuring out those words, it can't retain the actual like knowledge that's coming off of those words.
Mhm.
And so one trick I learned when I was younger was just to read out loud, and that did help a bit. But if I'm honest, what helped even more was just to listen to somebody else talk and be able to consume it in a different way. But yeah, anyways, a lot of us are like that. It's created a
Well, it
unique
says
brain.
that 35% of entrepreneurs, based off the article I'm reading, are
Yeah.
dyslexic, which is pretty unbelievable. So a lot of people struggle with that. So then, what? So is it video content then? Like, how do you focus on continued development as an entrepreneur and a leader?
So I'm probably not the best person to like pull on this, because like
Hey, at least you're honest. At least
I
you're
watch
honest.
and see a lot of randomness. So like my interests are in like science and technology and biology and religion and law and history, and like I have such an eclectic interest in so many different things. But what's unique about that is I can then go make a business decision based on like what I understand about psychology from the human brain, what I understand about politics, what I understand about money and the financial system, and I can make a very unique decision based on many different facets of the world that arguably didn't come from a business book at all, but it came from, I would just say, general knowledge of the planet we live on and the human condition that we're all in. And that has lended itself to make some very unique and different decisions that have worked really well. And I think business is kind of like that. Like people want to read business books, great, but like they bore me, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But what interests me is like the future and technology and like God and like how those all interact.
And
Let
I think
alone
being able to
everything else.
being able to understand people too, right? And understanding just
Yeah.
humans in general
People,
and
that's
common sense and everything like that, that some people who are very smart don't necessarily have, you know what I mean, in different areas. I think that's another big thing too.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
and with all that said, structuring what we do and building out even what we teach, I can't do that, right? So
Mhm.
it's like I can talk about it, I can just cast the vision, but somebody needs to be able to structurally be able to draw all these forms up, make everything physically work in Excel, like, and that's my business partner. That's Igor, and that's a large part of our team. And so it's
Yeah.
like it's okay almost in a way where I'm like I've surrounded myself with people that fulfill on my weaknesses, and I'm able to just fully be my strengths, which is
Mhm.
actually a big part of what we should probably be talking about today. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we're going. I mean, as a friend and mentor of mine, I've watched you and execute that and learned from you, and that's my soul. That's where I'm at too. It's like as I'm kind of coaching people, I'm like surrounding myself with implementers and integrators that can really apply things way better than me. I can talk vision, strategy, navigation all day long, but when it comes to like X's and O's and all that, it's like we need somebody that's been in the trenches that can really execute that. And you gotta learn that. It's one of those learned skills as an entrepreneur is you kind of learn how to develop yourself and build yourself into a role that, I mean, a lot of us, you can get to your strength zone sometimes, but once you get to a place where you're in your strength zone all the time, it's amazing what starts to happen.
totally, and helping other people be in their strength zone. I mean, when people look at entrepreneurs, especially in North America, people look at entrepreneurs and they see the visionary and they say, man, that person is amazing. And then they always say, wow, they're so modest because they say like it's not them, it's their team. What they don't realize is it is their team. And we
Yeah.
kind of do suck at a lot of stuff, and it's almost kind of embarrassing. And like the truth is, like, we're just really vocal. So we get all the
Yeah.
attention. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that doesn't mean we are the masterminds behind everything that's being created. There's so much cool stuff that our team does that comes from them. I'm just the vocal one that gets to speak about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just that's the face, right? And sometimes that has its own challenges. Like I don't do it for credibility. Like I don't really care. I just love the journey, right? I love, watching and helping others develop while I'm developing. It's just putting those puzzles together is just a lot of fun and really, and just enjoyment for me to wake up every day and tackle the challenges that come with entrepreneurship on a day-to-day basis. But it does come down to the team. You're only as good
Yeah.
as your team, right? And
Yeah.
they need to get more credit than us goofy idiots that are just the talking heads of the organization.
Totally. And it's good to get real about that, because like there comes a point in business where you're like your ego is going to get in your own way, and it does all the time, but it gets like there is a point where you're going to be like, I am not that useful in my own organization.
Yeah. Isn't that
And the
crazy?
more I try to assert myself and try and feel useful, actually the worse the team is doing.
Such a
And
weird
like
feeling.
it's such a weird feeling, and it's like you have to let go a little bit and be like, that's actually okay. That's actually natural.
Yeah.
And when you realize that and you can own that, it's the most freeing feeling in the world, because all this pressure comes off you and you don't have to give your life up for your business anymore. There's actually this gift waiting on the other side, which is like, good job. Like, go use your mind for other things now. Stop trying to like be in every part of your business all the time. And trust me, like even I go through this, like I went through this even with BTA the last like probably 2 years ago, and I started to feel it. And now I'm kind of at this place where I'm like, wow, like I let go and it's just thriving. And all I need to do now is speak about it, bring on some members every once in a while, be there for my team. We're working on some cool future projects that I'm just a part of some meetings in. And I like to work, so I'll work, 40 hours a week, but I don't need to work 80. I don't need to work 60. I've got 3 girls. I hang out with them a lot. And, I've even had some of our members who get to this stage where they start to realize, like, what do I do? And I'm like, one guy's like, I got this other business idea. I'm going to go after it. I'm like, no, bro, like, go hang with your wife and kids for like a year. And then go do that. If you want to go do that, go do another business. But like reap some of the benefits of what you put into this, and step back and let others just own it for a bit.
So for those of you listening to this, like, this is stuff that you don't hear, right? These are the things that, I mean, who talks about this sort of stuff? It's all about hustle, 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 work all day, be the man, ego this, ego that. Like, that's not what this journey is all about. And I can relate to that. Like, I've been teetering on all that. Like, you get to a point where you're like, wow, everything's just operating and it's great. And then you're like, then, I start to get bored. Then you start inserting yourself into things and start messing with the joke around our business is like, my job is to break things. Their job is to
I know
fix
that
them,
one.
right? And it's like, now it's like, I'm listening. I mean, that's good. We go through it. It's like a cycle. You kind of get to this place where you're like, all right, the team's in place, like things are humping on all cylinders, and then you get bored and you start tinkering, and then what? Things break, but not always. Sometimes some ideas come out that can take you to another level. But I think being in that zone to where, and then having people that can tell you that, hey, not a good idea. Hey, yes, it's a good idea. We're going to run with this one. That's what kind of helps streamline the success and growth of an entrepreneur's mind, right?
They're just different stages, and they're just important to be aware of. Like, man, I ground out my like everything to grow this business, to grow the previous business too, in franchising. Like, I worked so hard, and I was proud of it. And it was like a badge of honor that I would wear. Like, I may not outsmart you, but I will effing outwork you. Yeah, exactly. And I say that a lot when I speak, and it's true. It's like, that's how I drove myself every day. And I think kids is a big part of this, like having kids and having like real solid relationships in your life that are like not about you anymore. Like, it's not about you when you have kids. Like, you have to give everything to them, and it actually feels really good. And you start to realize, like, man, this like warrior mentality I had in my 20s, even part of my 30s, it's not who I'm going to be in my 40s and 50s. And if I am going to do that, then I'm going to sacrifice a large part of my life that I'm going to regret later. Right? You talk to old people who are on their deathbed. I mean, I've lost both my parents, and so I've had time to like actually like, especially my mom who died from cancer. I had a lot of time with her to talk to her about her life. And one of the biggest things she told me, she has a ton of regrets that she didn't spend enough time with me. You know what's funny? She was on welfare for most of her life, and she spent a ton of time with me, and she still didn't feel like it was enough. Right.
Yeah, that's
so. Don't forget that stuff.
I have another question to follow up with everything, but I wanted to give a couple of shout outs here. Matt Collins says, "What's up?" And then Tony Green, I thought this was cool. He said, "I agree. I'm the same way with dyslexic and ADHD, and I'm overcoming it and started my own business and having have been successful without having to read." He said, "I'd love to hear that you guys are having the same problem." And then Anthony Tran said, I suffered because I couldn't trust people because I had so many guys just quit. Changing your approach makes a huge difference because you can't do everything yourself. Being able to have the right people on your team will give you more time to work on your business rather than in it.
Yeah. Do you want to get into some of that? Do you want to get into some of what we came here to talk about?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, one of the biggest things that we're going to be talking about today is how to maximize productivity, right? How to structure your business to maximize productivity for your roofing business. What bottlenecks are you seeing? Let's say that you start to work with somebody in BTA, you get a new client with a roofing company. What are some common areas or bottlenecks you're seeing that you're like, that's what's causing a major issue in terms of productivity?
Yeah, it's. I mean, everybody. I hate to say it, but 90% of the people I sit down with have the exact same problem. How do I recruit, train, and operate human beings? Right. And recruiting is the biggest issue because it's the beginning of that train. But when you start to solve that problem, then it's like, how do I actually like onboard and train these people effectively? And then how do I maintain them so they don't leave me?
Does recruit, train, and what?
Recruit, train, and operate.
And operate. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could get into recruiting a little bit. I talk about it a lot, but I think
It's a
generally,
good one though, because everybody says they can't find good people. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
yep. I mean, generally, people don't understand what we're in right now. We are in the recession of people, right? 2008, we were in the recession of dollar bills. Now we're in the recession of people. And yet we still
Crazy.
act and talk about sales as if it's a finite resource. We got more money coming into the economy than we know what to do with. I don't know if everyone knows this, and I think the stats are a little higher now even, but in 2020, the United States government and Canada too printed 40% of all the money that was in currency since the beginning of the country
Wild.
existence,
It's wild.
right? You have more money in the economy than you have people to do the work, and then you have inflation happening in people's homes, you have speculative value, and suddenly everyone has even more money because now they can go and use that and borrow against it, and they want the contractor to go do work on their home. And everybody in contracting is overwhelmed, right? It was already a problem prior to COVID. It was already a pretty big problem actually, and it got exacerbated to the point of like, this is literally a recession
Another,
of people.
like another
And
pandemic.
you paid
Yeah,
everyone to
it's
stay home.
insane.
You paid everyone else to stay home. So you got
Yeah.
nobody, right?
Yeah,
And so
inflation's 5.4%, I think. Oh man.
I still think that's bullshit. I think it's
Yeah,
higher.
yeah.
But here's the thing. So like, if that's the case, if we're in the recession of people, why are we not obsessing over recruiting? Why are we still obsessing over sales? Like everyone wants to be the best sales organization. Why are we not obsessing being about the best recruiting organization? What kind of
Mhm.
time and money and effort and tactics and thought have we put into our recruiting process versus our sales teams?
Mhm.
Begs to think, right? Because I get to sit down and look at everybody's financials. I get to go through their business in detail, right? I've hundreds and hundreds every single year I sit down with, and I see it. Well, not everybody, but like 80, 90% of them. It's like, whatever. I always use this example, but it's, $20,000 a year on Google AdWords and $500 a year on recruiting ads. And yet they're like telling me I have more work than I can handle. If only I could find more people to take care of it. So anyways, all that to
Yeah.
say, like there's a lot I could say about recruiting. Net, like all of us need to have a bit of a check on what we perceive like effort, because the effort we're putting into sales and marketing is probably for a lot of us higher than recruitment. And I give you lots of tactics on Facebook and how to build ideal candidate profiles, and I do that on lots of different podcasts. Maybe you can call me if you want to go through that, but generally it's your own mentality that's holding you back.
Yeah, for sure. Well, how much time do you think that people are actually spending, like legitimately, when they're doing recruiting? Like, how much time and effort into their ads and their
Yeah,
whatever they're doing? It can't be too much, I
go
feel
go
like.
on Indeed and read them. They're all crap.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? They're all just writing, this is what we need. Do you have these things? And then they try and post and post and post and post and try and get, especially on the Craigslist and stuff, they try and like be the top post.
Here's the thing: they treat recruiting like they treat sales, as a numbers game.
Sure.
Right? They're like, oh, it doesn't
Okay,
matter
yeah.
how good you have to be at sales. Let's just, if I knock on 100 doors or I get 100 people to click on my ad, 10 of them are gonna be interested. It's a numbers game. Let's just rinse and repeat that. Same thing with recruiting. They think it's a numbers game, and just like you mentioned, we're not in that situation. You can't look at it as a numbers game. You can't just
it's a
throw
bit of
stuff
everything.
against the wall and hope it sticks. You
It's a
got to
big
be
relationship
intentional about
piece.
it.
It's a big strategy piece. There is still a numbers component to it. And I think like when I look at recruiting, I'm like, okay, I've got a batch of resumes that have come in over the last year. These are all leads that I can remarket to. Right? Why don't I put like a monthly newsletter together that I send out based on what our company's up to, that I keep all these leads informed about and warm them up for when we're recruiting the next season, right?
Are you
I
keeping
can
leads in your
grade.
CRM then for like recruiting or
So
like?
we do it manually right now in Excel, but it's funny you bring that up. We're looking around,
Yeah,
we're shopping right now for a recruiting CRM specifically for our flow.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And
I
so
like that.
now we've got a database. Like back at College Pro, we would go do class talks, and we would basically go to university professors, ask if we could do a 5-minute presentation, hand out a clipboard, get name, numbers, and emails of all these students. I would get like 2,000 to 3,000 names a year of interested students across Western Canada. I keep all those names, and I
Wow.
text and email. I text them every time I'm on campus. Hey, I have a booth if you want to come check it out. I email them and let them know what's coming up. Like, they are my lead flow, and I
Nurturing
nurture
the
them
leads for recruitment.
totally.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty
I
good.
could go on for a whole podcast on recruiting, but trust me, if you're having trouble recruiting, it's because the market's changed and you haven't adapted like a good entrepreneur should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not
Well,
hard, it's that we haven't adapted.
and I think people don't pay attention to the style of recruiting. I mean, there's so much, we can dive on this on so much, but like, if you don't even know who you are, if you don't know who your business is, you don't know what your values are, you don't know what your purpose is and what's the core of the business, how are you going to like intentionally find someone to fit within that core of the business?
Yeah.
And it
Mm-hmm.
starts right here, right? You asked about bottlenecks. I mean, look at a Coke bottle. Where's the bottleneck? It's at the top. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
bottlenecks always start at the top.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
People's brand isn't often thought about how it attracts people. Like it's more thought about how it attracts a customer. But
Mm-hmm.
how does your brand look to the marketplace when people are looking to work somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
do you treat your people, and how is that impacting your brand when you're not around? Because man, I've heard some ugly things about some roofing businesses that I prefer not
Ugly.
to repeat, right?
Ugly.
But like the word is out on certain businesses, and it's like no wonder you have trouble recruiting because you don't even hear it because no one will say it to you, but they'll say it to each other.
Oh yeah.
And one more thing on this, and this is something Randy you do a really good job of, is like in that rat's nest of people, get out of it. Stop trying to recruit within the industry. Start finding people externally. There's a ton of great people that you can train internally if you have a good training process. But you have to get your head out of like, I need people with roofing experience or roofing sales experience. Go bring people external, which is Randy, something you do a phenomenal job of. That I think works really well. So
What about a retention standpoint? Because I feel like a lot of people are just like churn and burn. I worked at a software company that was, hey, it's definitely churn and burn. You're gonna burn me out, and then it's gonna go right. Hey,
yeah.
I need bodies. I need someone with a pulse. I need someone to fill this role. Churn and burn. Churn and burn. How first off, how important is it to have a high quality retention in terms of your employees, and how can you make that happen?
So, I mean, obviously everyone knows it's important because it costs a ton of time, effort, and money to bring somebody in. So it's like the most painful thing for these people.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I put a year into finding you and you lasted 6 weeks and you're
Yeah.
gone. And
Yet they
like,
keep doing it though. You know what I mean? It's like, geez.
so everybody knows that. I don't need to beat that to death. But
Yeah, true.
what I will say is like, how much are you setting up an environment where you're having a transactional relationship with your employees versus a more like community-based relationship or high performance team-based relationship? Like what is the vibe when somebody's coming in? Is it, here's your job, here's how much we're going to pay you, go. It's up to you, figure it out, I don't care. Or is it,
Mm-hmm.
welcome to our community? There's
Welcome to our
we've got to
family,
cook. Yeah, welcome to our family. This person cooks, this person cleans, this person does the dishes, this person, everyone's got their role, and together we're a stable community. Here's your role. Here's what you do to contribute to the greater good of all of us. We all believe in you, and you're going to need to believe in us. We're going to put everything we can into your development. We're going to help you make good money. We're going to take care of your, we're going to help you learn. We're going to help you grow, and whatever goals you have are important to us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And setting up that type of an environment for your entire team makes a massive difference to retention, because most young people today, they have options, right? They don't need to work for you. They choose to
Mm-hmm.
work for you. And especially the top performers in the industry, like they're interviewing and looking at you and analyzing you just as much as you might be to them. And if your environment sucks and it's not structured and there's not a ton of support and they don't fully trust that they're going to get paid on time or even fully get their commissions from you, well, then good luck, right?
Yeah.
But if it's, we are a family and we are here together and you're a part of something bigger and together we'll do this together, like that word together, I think means something to a lot of people. They want to be a part of something. They want to be developed. They want to have goals. They want to have somebody who believes in them. They want to have trust and security in their job and know that things aren't going to be changing every single week based on your random ideas, right? They want stability.
You
Mm-hmm.
nailed it. I mean, people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And we have to own that and create that and build that from leadership all the way on down, and by creating opportunity and having that vision and values and all the things that we've touched on, it's the formula. You gotta have all of it together to really create that culture that attracts people.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
You want that culture where people want to come to you versus you are trying to sell them on coming to your company.
Yeah.
Changes the dynamic tremendously. I mean, entrepreneurship 101, probably the most easiest said but not done thing. But if you're going to build a great team and grow a successful business, you want to surround yourself with top talent and A players.
Yeah.
One of the most difficult things to do in entrepreneurship, but we're definitely touching on a handful of things that if you take and implement some of these, it will make a big difference.
Yeah, let me show you. Let me share. If I share screen, people will be able to see it.
Yes, sir. Let me see if users. Do you have a share on the bottom?
Yeah, share screen tips. Monitor. Just let me just share
Check
this.
it out. Boom. Now we got it. Let me get rid of this real quick. Oops, that's not the one I wanted to get rid of. We get rid of. There we go. Just want to make sure that looks nice.
Oop. There we go.
There we
That's
go.
it.
Nice. Yep.
So, like, and it's not all about kumbaya, like let's all feel better and I'll help you advance in your career. It's like let's like literally work out like who does what, and even numerically who delivers on what, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is like the cornerstone of a lot of, the beginning parts of what we do at BTA is help every owner identify like what are the actual goals of the company, like what are the things, the production metrics, the sales metrics, the gross profit metrics, the quality metrics that define whether or not you did a good job this year. And then how do we bring those metrics down to each individual person who can be in charge of what they can be in their role, right? So the sales guys may be trying to book a certain amount of work with a certain closing ratio and a certain gross profit margin because they're the ones booking the job.
Yep.
Production managers may be trying to produce a certain amount of work with a certain customer satisfaction rating, or maybe even a certain amount of hours, produced versus hours budgeted. The crew leaders are trying to make sure they take care of their portion of that production with a certain amount of quality rating and a certain amount of crews hitting budgets. Everybody has a piece to play, but in relation to what they have direct control over, and they should always be working towards helping the person above them hit their goal, right? So if you think
Is this
about
a
it,
free
like,
download? I don't want to interrupt. Is this that free download, the Reclaim 5 hour per week tool that the
it's
people
not
can
in that
download?
one. It's in
Okay.
another one. But let's see if by the end we can pull some links out. But
Cool.
we do have some pre-downloads we'll give you for sure.
Cool.
So,
Awesome. Thanks. Go ahead. Keep going.
yeah, but like net with this, it's realizing like the president's job is to help these three people hit their goal. That's literally like all their job is. Like I'm trying to help my sales manager, my office administrator, and my project manager hit their goal by year end. And they're not going to do it by doing it for them. Right? Your hands are tied behind your back. You cannot go book work for the sales manager. You cannot go produce work for the production manager, and you cannot go do invoicing for the office manager. All you can do is lead them. And when you put yourself in that type of a position, it's a very powerful thing to say, what is it going to take for me to get you across the line? And you're going to transition from being somebody's boss to somebody's coach. And now you're setting up a much more like healthy leadership environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. And I put this other link in here as well. One big takeaway though is notice this deliverables, right? Everybody has some kind of KPIs that they're getting tracked and graded with, right? Giving some kind of expectations to their team. I mean, I feel like that's something big. Is a lot of people, I hear bosses get frustrated with some of their employees, but I don't know if they really have good direction or expectations of like what success is even in their role.
Yeah, totally. It's like, I didn't know I wasn't doing a good job, or you keep yelling at me and it's pissing me off.
Yeah.
Versus like, hey, like your whatever, your gross profit margins that you've been booking are at 20%, and we need to get you at least a 35 to make this profitable. Otherwise, you're losing the company money. And this was what was in next big point, right? Which was in your employment agreement. So
Yep.
if you don't have it, documented in this way, and you don't have it baked right into the employment agreement, like you are in charge of $1.5 million in production this year at a 44% margin with a 9 out of 10 quality rating score from the customer.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
Right? Clear as day. This is what you need to do to deliver an ROI to the organization. My job is to help you get there.
Mm-hmm. Man, we might have to get our hands on some of these downloads over here, Danny. I got one though. I put the link over for the Reclaim 5 hours per week tool, so I'm sure that one's great too. So I put that in the comments. So maybe if we get any more, let's drop that in there because that's good stuff.
Let me get you.
So for those of you listening on the podcast, driving around, you're like, "What the heck?
What the heck?
Look at that screen.
This is
What the
good.
heck?"
What is this?
So yes, this is archived on our YouTube channel at the Star Bill Grow Show, and then as well as the Facebook channel Star Bill Grow Show as well.
Yeah,
So
or maybe jump. Hey, if you
always
listen
see
to the
our archive.
podcast, come jump on and see our pretty faces. Randy's a good-looking dude, and I mean he's looking lean now after he lost the weight from the 75 hard.
I don't know about all
Come
that.
check him out. Go check out the new Randy brothers over here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. Oh, awesome, perfect.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
so
share this
that
in here too.
link I just gave you is a pretty cool link. It's actually going to take them to a resource section on our Contractor Evolution podcast site.
Oh,
And
nice.
within that, it has 10 different resources that are all downloadable with how-to videos, and it'll cover a lot of what we're talking about here. So they can
Cool.
actually just pick like, stuff on interviewing, training, strategic planning, employment agreements, budgeting, reclaim 5 hours a week, compensation incentive packages. It's all free.
Cool.
So
Awesome. So for those on the podcast, it is www.btacademy.com/contractor-quick-tools. So check that out there.
yeah,
Oh yeah. Pretty good stuff there.
yeah,
So one thing I wanted to kind of talk about too was, we talked about recruiting, we talked about having KPIs and, getting people excited to work for you. One thing that we kind of intertwines with that is we want high retention. We want people to stay with us for a long time, right? Now, how do you get someone to be pumped up, right, to work for you? And then let's say that you retain this person. How do you get them to continue to be motivated and pumped up in year 3, year 4, and so on?
sure. I mean, let's talk about a couple things. First off, every goal that gets set with somebody isn't just like, here's your employment agreement, sign it, go hit it, see you next year. It's, hey, every week we're going to have a meeting, right? So what we call them in Breakthrough Academy is something called GS&R. It stands for goal setting and review. And so every week I'm helping you. How did last week go? What was your goals? What did you hit? What did you miss? By how much? Okay, what's next week's goal? And you're there to support them the entire year, right? Hey, you're really struggling with closing ratios, and you got to track all this stuff, right? So we have like live trackers for all of our members. We can see, hey, this guy's closing ratios are down by 10% versus the rest of the team. Why don't you go out in the field and do some buddy interviews or buddy estimates with this guy and just help him identify what's going on? You get in there, you realize, hey, you know what, you're not asking objections questions. So when people object, you're just accepting it and leaving. Let's work on this for the next week together and try and get your objection handling up. Suddenly the guy's closing ratio goes up and he's like, whoa, like I'm booking more work because of you. It's like, yeah, dude, like I care. Like I need to help you hit your goals at the end of the year. And it's that constant like motion of like every 2 weeks or every week we meet, we set goals. I come on the field and I very intentionally help you in areas I can see that numerically we're struggling with. And so that all the way to the end of the year, we've gone through this battle together to get to the promised land. Whether we make it or not, we can reflect on how we did, and we can basically say, hey, what did you learn from this year? What were the biggest things you improved upon? What were some things you need areas of improvement on that I can work with you on next year? And as we rebuild our new strategic plan for the year, here's your part to play in it. Here's what I'm going to do personally to help you, right? We do usually do a performance review at the end of the year, and that gives them something new to strive for. And now we're constantly keeping on the train of like development and growth and like goal setting and review. And every year we have a celebration about how we did, and then we reset and go for another year.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Randy? How do you keep people pumped up?
I mean, it's hard not to just agree because I learned a lot of that from Danny. We implement a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you break it down quarterly, right? I mean, you got your quarterly 90-day sprints, 90-day goals, and then weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, however you want to do that. But at the end of the day, you also, I really focus on like trying to do some sort of, out of the office, team event, at least quarterly, right? Whether it's a barbecue or a sports game or a trip or those sort of things too are just so incremental, I think, in driving culture, because you get people out of that work environment, you get them to they kind of relax a little bit, and you really to know people at a deeper level, and that's where those deep relationships start to build.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the show, we talked about, being a visionary. You guys surround all these people, there's great people around you, and you almost got to stay out of their way, right? The company's almost better off if you're not actually doing the implementation of the stuff. So if you're not really doing a lot of the implementation stuff, right? I know obviously the leaders have a big impact on the culture and productivity of the company. What is it, the leader's role? Like, what is a visionary leader's role in a company?
It changes at different stages, right? So in the beginning, the leader's role is to kind of do a bit of everything. It's to get involved in like prove the sales model, prove the marketing model, prove the like quality of like product that can be delivered, like prove it all out. Go make mistakes, get dirty, be willing to try stuff and find what works, and then document that. Right? So once you figure out the way, we know this is how we can get leads in a predictable manner. because Randy Brothers went out and pounded his head against the concrete for 4 years until he figured out this is how we get predictable leads into the system.
Yes.
We know
Yep.
this is our sales system because Randy Brothers went and paid, tons of money for a sales manual and a bunch of help and made a bunch of mistakes and figured out how to get the closing ratio at 42% and make that a predictable sales process in all day long, right? We know how we, so it's like you need to know that stuff so that people can take it off your hands. And if it's not known, if you're hiring people to be like, can you go figure it out? You're setting people up for failure. You need an entrepreneur to go do that. Right. So in the beginning, that's your job, is to go figure that stuff out. Once that stuff gets figured out, your big job is to go find people that can operate it, can manage it, can maintain that, and hopefully give a bit of creativity to it to evolve it as things grow. Right. So now you're on a people play. I need to go find the people that can take these levers and keep moving them because I've now made the levers. Right. Someone's got to move them. What's that movie? Or what's that song? It's like, hey, Joe, something about button factory. Like you need someone to like keep pressing the button, right? And so that's the next phase, is like you're heavy in recruitment, you're heavy in development and training of your staff, and then really working on them being able to take over the role and hopefully develop it as well to the next level. And when you've done a really good job of that, that's what it gets to the point where me and Randy are talking about, where you get to this place where it's like you actually need to let go of the levers yourself too and step back and trust and let the team take on and let them grow into their role. Right? Because if you're constantly managing them and you're kind of like, I know you're holding the lever, but I'm going to hold it too with you and we're going to pull it together, right? It's like at some point you got to like let go and be like, you got this. Let me make you, you're going to make some mistakes and I'll be there with you while you do, but I'm going to slowly step back.
Let me oil the lever every once in a while for you.
Yeah.
You're the one pulling it.
With that extra brain space, your job is to now go make sure that the decisions that are made for the future of the company are positively influencing the 10, 20, 30, 100 people that work for you. Because if you think about it, every hour you work, if you have 30, I have 30 staff right now. Every hour I work, that's 30 hours of my team's time that's happening at the exact same time. So how many hours a week am I putting into helping make sure those 30 hours are put in the most productive projects possible versus just trying to be one of those hours myself?
It's a mindset that's a transformation that happens, right?
Yeah.
To sum all that up, I mean, I guess I was going to kind of go with this at the end here when Nick picks on me, but really what you're talking about, and that's my philosophy, and the same thing, and even a mentor of mine really talks about this quite a bit, is at its core, as a leader, we have to lead, we have to teach, we have to inspire. And you just elaborated on all that. We have to lead by example. We have to lead. We have to do. We have to prove. We have to, make sure it's working. We're leading the right way. And then we have to shift to teaching. And we got to teach it to others. We got to teach, share, coach others, and then we got to inspire our team to take and continue on what we started. So, that's kind of what I live by. That's my philosophy as a leader, and I take ownership of that each and every day. It's one of my internal core values of, as a leader, my job, and as I teach others and coach others, it's your job is to lead, teach, and inspire in that order.
It's awesome, man. It's a much simpler way of putting it than my complicated rant.
I like the evolution though of entrepreneurship, because you can kind of like think about that, right, in different stages and whatnot. So that's pretty cool. One thing I had a question about though was, goal setting is such a big deal, right? I mean, if you're able to get people excited about goals and kind of drive people forward towards that goal, a lot of good things going to happen. How do you create as for people in the organization, like a desire and excitement, almost like an attachment to want to go achieve that goal that is, your company?
Well, I think I want to hear what you say too, but I think first and foremost, you got to kind of understand the person and what their driving motivations are. Through that interviewing, onboarding process, you're going to know if they fit your values, if they fit your goals as a company, if they fit the culture of your company. And if they fit all that, it becomes a lot easier to drive those goals forward. But you got to understand what kind of motivation they are. I mean, we got all different types of motivation. There's three key ones. You got altruistic, intrinsic, and extrinsic. I mean, some people are purely motivated. Just, I want to dangle that carrot of a grand cash, and I want to beat everybody and give me that $1,000. Some people just want to stand on that pedestal and be recognized and have the whole team clap for them. Some people just want their effort to feed the hungry, and they just want that altruistic. They just get inspired by that altruistic, motivation, you got to kind of figure that out by getting to know and through the process of bringing people on and be able to adjust and adapt a little bit of that based off that knowledge. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah. Like step one is, do they have attainment? The preference to set and hit goals in their life, and interviewing for that and looking for past experience to see how they do with that is huge. And I think secondly is, are the goals of the organization and are their personal goals aligned? Is there real tangible alignment, or are you just kidding yourself? Right? So there's people on my team that want to be, my sales team, they want to learn to be better salespeople. They want to grow in that career. They want to make more money doing it. They want to have more responsibility in those areas. They want to grow. They also really like being a part of something that has like a bit of a mission statement and a 5-year BHAG, and like we're all growing, we're changing the industry, and they like that. They also want to buy a house and have kids and like get a nicer car. And so they've got all these different things that matter to them, and I'm aligning their job with their ability to go hit those things, right? Caitlin Kaufman, I always talk about her in my talks, but she's the first person I ever hired, and she works with us to this day. Actually, she's finally going on maternity leave in December because she's having her baby. But when I met her, she didn't have any significant other in her life. She didn't have any property. She didn't have much savings. She was just like, I have all these goals, and I'm like, cool. Like I can't do all that for you, but I can provide an environment where you can grow in that area. She got married. She got a condo. She has an awesome husband, new baby coming, and she's like fulfilling on all these life goals. And I'm there to kind of hold the space and make sure that she has the support from her work life to be able to do that. And she does, right? And for that reason, she feels like she's here for a long, long time, and she'll probably continue to be here for a long time because I'm not getting in the way of that. I'm trying to help her get there in every way I can.
Yeah, that's great,
man. Awesome stuff. Well, great episode today. You guys have been bringing the heat, and honestly, the time has been flying by. But we're gonna start to bring this thing towards a close. This is where we always end it with, kind of a golden nugget, right? And Randy, I know you're always bringing the fire, but I try to squeeze as much as I can from you, man, so that way we can share with our audience. So, what's a golden nugget that you want to leave the audience with? And then after Randy goes, we'll let Danny go. Now, with the golden nugget, be something to implement, something to avoid. It could be a quote for all I care, whatever you want to leave them with. So, Randy, you go first.
So the golden nugget is, hey, listen to this episode again, because the reality is, like, you get a guy like Danny who's a wealth of knowledge and wisdom and experience and just a genuinely hearty guy. Like, I can listen to you all day and learn something every single time. That's a part of it, right? But I think I like to try to have a nugget that's kind of a takeaway from, something from the show. We kind of went pretty deep in a lot of things, but really at the end of the day, we are in the people business. Okay. Any way you look at it, from sales to recruiting to leadership to the economy to everything, this is people to people, human to human interactions. And if we can focus our energies and understand the value of people and being a genuine person ourselves and treating other people from your family life to your business life to your sales life, and going all in on, really understanding the value of growing and supporting and educating the people and creating opportunities for other people around you, everything in life is going to start to fall into place and really make a lot of sense. So just value the people you have around you. Like, life is short, right?
Yep.
Everyone around you is there for a reason. And without people, none of this would happen. So people, that's the most important, most valuable commodity we have.
Amen, brother. Well said.
Time may actually be the most valuable commodity you have, because you can't make more of it.
Yes, and I've said that many a times.
But I agree.
Things,
Yeah. This is good. I think we were going to give away a download on this, actually, so I might as well make this my big thing. Is we talked a lot today, and 2 ADD guys, 3 ADD guys on the line together. This is what we're going to do a little bit. So for those who held on for the ride, thank you. One thing I know that all of us do struggle with is like good allocation of time. And most of the entrepreneurs I work with, it's like, these are all really good ideas. I've got more ideas myself. It's like, ideas are great, but they're useless until they're actually implemented. And one of the best things I've done for myself, my business partner is very good at this, is like allocating time for what's really important and getting rid of the stuff that's not, right? And the most simplest exercise that I could explain to you and how to do this, every year as an entrepreneur, as long as your business is moving and shaking, you should be writing up a new job description for yourself. And how you should do that is you should start by writing up all the things you do in a week, right? And then circle the stuff that's high time consumption and low skill. And that stuff needs to get delegated down, either to an existing team member, or maybe that's enough of stuff that it's a whole new role that gets hired for next year. Because all those hours, if they go into another fiscal year of you doing them, is huge missed opportunity, like huge opportunity cost. So I would just say, like, make that an annual exercise for yourself. Make a list of everything you do in a week, circle the stuff that's high time consumption and low skill, and start to move that stuff down the line to your team. So to open up more space to be that new kind of leader or that visionary or whatever that stage is that you're in. But the more things you're doing that are 10, 20, 30, $40 an hour jobs, as your business grows, it's actually costing you more than it's saving you. And you need to be very aware of that. So
remember that bottleneck, right?
Really good. Yeah. I mean, I wonder how many leaders actually right now have a job description written down for themselves just in general too. So that's probably a good way to start. And like you're saying, it's constantly evolving, right? And your role is constantly changing as the company continues to grow. So being aware of where you're at, right? So that's awesome stuff, man.
So,
Danny, you brought the heat for sure.
Two things. Obviously, I mean, we're grateful for Danny and your support, the Breakthrough Academy support with us, as well as, the C3 group, Hailtray, Sumo Quote, Job Nimbus, Sumo Media, and the Roofing Academy for the continued support of the Start Build Grow show. But Danny, how do we get a hold of you, man? What's the best way for those who are listening to their truck and they're like, man, I gotta take my life, my business to the next level? Like, what's my process, my friend?
A couple things. One, we sent out some links. So Nick, you've got a link on like how to save 5 hours a week. So there's an actual like downloadable exercise on what I just described. So make sure, if you're just like, that sounds like a good way to relieve some space on my calendar, go do that exercise. It'll help you. That should be everybody listening to this. It's quick, it's simple, and it'll really give you a little bit of freedom going into your next year. If
there we go.
There we are, in Alaska.
That was fun, man.
That was a great time.
Off Randy's face.
There's like an iceberg that like fell 10 minutes prior to that into the ocean.
I had a video of it. Like,
that was really cool. Yeah, man. So
super cool.
If you want to hang out with us Yahoos and come to Alaska, learn about business, and start to get into a bit more of like a structured business group where we actually kind of build out your organization with you, you can go to B as in Bravo, T as in Tango, Academy, ACADEMY.com. You can read about us, follow us, check us out, and we'd be happy to chat. So
awesome. Well, Danny, thanks for joining us on episode 164. Randy, what should they do? Do they press a button or something? What do you want them to do?
Yeah, press a button.
Share, right? Subscribe, like it,
comment,
send it to people, mail it out, right? Something like that. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Randy or Danny. Thanks for joining us as well. We'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Take care, everybody.
See you.